TNT.
Welcome back. We're here now with Matthew Camenzuli. It's a name that resonates with Australians who are fed up with the status quo in politics. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vikki. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. I love your Twitter. Everyone needs to go and follow Matthew's Twitter because it shows how we are getting it so wrong. And Matthew, this pandering to pollsters and spin doctors, where is it getting us?
Oh, I think it's like a big merry-go-round where you end up back where you started before, only, I don't know, it seems to be breaking down at the same time, right? It's really, really bad. And the only thing that's worse than all of that is the social media presence of a lot of the MPs. I mean, if you have a look at what they're doing out there, the pollsters and these spin doctors, I mean, you've got Albo selling things like, what's that, the dinosaur park, and putting up So Fresh, knockoff CD covers. And, there are people in parks with their dogs and, feeding them acai berries and in prams, like MPs. This is crazy stuff. I don't know who's helping them. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I know. I know them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's no good. And it's like we're also seeing this party membership eroding. And then today, the New South Wales Liberals have obviously, we've got mayors like Scott Benz resigning, and because the Liberals stuffed up the paperwork, which meant that they couldn't get their pre-selections done in time to run for the council elections. It's like, what are we doing?
Well, I think if I could quote, I just saw a pretty cool piece come up on the telly today. James O'Doherty's called it an omni-shambles, And I mean, I just can't think of a better word. It's an omni-shambles. It's exactly what it is. I mean, it's a failure of process. Now, the problem is, and maybe I'm misconceived, but in my experience with the Liberal Party, sort of 16, probably 18 years now, 2 years expelled, more and more over the last few years, last sort of 8-10 years, the party has clearly been overrun by a force that is not Liberal leaning, that does not support the Menzies We Believe statement, doesn't reflect the membership. The majority of the membership are good people. Slowly but surely, more people are waking up inside of the organisation, which is great. They need to stay in the party. I've got to put they really need to stay in the party because there's something in them, right? But what we're finding is that this group that sort of interlopers, as it were, that have taken over the joint. And I think the king of the interlopers right now has to be Don Harwin, the state president, right? He's an interesting character. The games that get played on the state executive, I can't see how for the life of me it's in the best interest of the Liberal Party. It's in the best interest of the membership. It certainly isn't in the best interest of the brand right now. There are some real problems forming there. I think people like Mark Speakman and others have been calling for Richard Shields to resign today. He's director. But that's a little bit like blaming the CEO by himself when the chairman of the board is the one who sort of is overarching and has been there's no question that a big chunk of the delays that we've seen have come from the top. And there is a corruption of process.
This is the second time, though, Matthew. Like, you must remember the 2021 election, I want to say, how late the Libs left every pre-selection. Yeah. And then it came to actually getting people out in the ground, and we had these guys with no name recognition. People didn't know who they were, and we were starting the campaign after the election had already been called. That's
correct. I was actually privileged enough to be on the state executive at the time that those councils were being selected and so on. And in actual fact, people don't know this about me. And I mean, a lot of people know that I took Scott Morrison to court over some things, pre-selections and getting democracy and members' rights up. But we also, I guess I joined on the side of the Liberal Party back in 2019 when a number of councillors, all three of them who are going to be put back onto this council, all three of them are going to be put back onto council. Their forms were all fine this time. I joined on the side of the Liberal Party to defend against three councillors suing they were trying to thwart membership and democracy. I was suing to support the membership and the democracy. Well, I joined on the side of the party. The party submitted. The party has problems. The party submitted. So I thought they might submit. So I joined and defended it and we won. And then we were able to to sort of force some of these forces in the background who were trying to, I guess, thwart processes. We got them to set those processes completely aside, and we were trying to get a much more democratic outcome. But again, the same forces then stopped all councillors from happening in those councils everywhere. So there are real problems here, and there's a massive corruption of process. And I don't think that they want to win elections. I don't think that's what this is about. If they wanted to win elections, they could have had these selections done 6 months ago. They could have had the forms ready and all lined up, ducks in a row, as you'd expect a political party to do, because they only have one job, really, and that is to vet candidates and put them into the field. Right? They're not governing. They are the administrative wing. They raise funds. They put candidates in the field. They print cork-flutes. It's simple stuff for them, and they can't get it right. Yeah. Big problems. I mean, I'm really angry today. I'm furious. I can't believe this. It's terrible. So if I'm sounding a little bit ranty, it's only because I think they need to hear it very quickly. I
love a good rant. Yeah. That's what this whole show is.
Well, somebody's got to tell them, right? Because somebody's got to tell them. I don't think they're listening.
They're not. I mean, this is what's so frustrating is that, you, like you just said, you were in the party for 16 years and, it's so frustrating when you want to see them succeed and instead it feels like so many of our current leaders are not, they're just failing the Australian people.
They really are. They really are. And I think there's a culture almost of fear. There's a culture of acquiescence. People just going along to get along, path of least resistance. I mean, we're at a time in history right now where I think we've got the highest inflation, certainly in living memory. House prices seem to be getting further and further out of reach of people. We've got a housing shortage in this country right now. And at the same time, home building companies are going broke. Only Marxists can do that sort of thing, right? Like, it's crazy stuff. It's the sort of stuff you see in Venezuela. Oh, look, there's a shortage of housing and builders are going broke. How do you do that? How do you have shortages and bankruptcies at the same time? It's very hard, right? So surely a little bit of sensible economic policy, somebody like an Angus Taylor could do a cracking good job of fixing this up, but we have to get to the place where somebody like Angus Taylor gets to be the treasurer, where somebody like Peter Dutton gets in and becomes the Prime Minister. You've got to get to that place. And unfortunately, between here, where we are now, and that place is a number of state divisions, like the New South Wales division, led by the illustrious and probably, hopefully, soon to be former President Don Harwin. The Victorian division that isn't sure what a woman is, the Queensland division that is, I believe the lobbyist class is rocking up there right now and getting ready to take their rightful position as in charge of the new state government. These are the sorts of messes, and we're seeing some stupid things go on that get in the way of a Peter Dutton win. And we can't have Albanese anymore. We can't. The guy's ruining the place. Like I said, look at the scenario we've got, and the public are desperate for an option there. I think they can see that the Teals aren't an option anymore. I think they can see that
you reckon
Albanese's not right. It's crazy.
I mean, you speak about the need for leaders who've got intellect and life experience, and then we saw today, especially at this council level, the people being, sitting mayors being rolled for staffers who are still in university. Yeah.
You see all this sort of silly stuff. So the problem with factionalism, and I think the Liberal Party needs to defactionalise. I've never been a great fan of the factions. I mean, I'm a conservative person myself. A bit of a libertarian as well. I mean, I'm a Menzies liberal, right? I believe in the we believe statement.
How do you defactionalise them, though?
Well, I think it's been slowly happening. See, plebiscites in New South Wales, where every member gets to have a vote, has been very, very helpful in that space, because it's much, much harder for a small group or cabal of people to rig a big selection. So more democracy is the solution. You need to have more democracy, more people voting on who the state executive are, more people voting on who candidates are, on who senators are, on who councillors are. The only way factionalism exists is when you have these rigged and small groups of people that you can control. It's very hard to control a big group of people. So more democracy and a bigger membership. And sadly, counterintuitively, days like today, weeks like this week, people start resigning from the party. And it's a silly thing to do. Why is it silly? Well, you're not sending anyone any message. You're just leaving the bad guys behind.
And this is what has happened in the Nats as well. I mean, this is what kills me with the Nationals. We've had the exact same thing where they get angry about something and then everyone resigns. Then something even worse happens, and it's like, well, we've got no members.
That's right. The problem is the members can't be the solution if they're not there, right?
No, that's right.
Now, the risk is that you end up with nothing but vested interests. People who want something. People who want something are a big problem. People who want something on executive. I think there should be moratoriums on people who've been on executive running for seats for 2, 4, 6 years, whatever you can think of, to stop those people with vested interests getting there. Lobbyists should not be able to be there, in-house lobbyists or external. It's ridiculous. It's terrible. So many elements of the party need to be reviewed, but certainly it's just about democracy. You know, it really is. It's just democracy stupid. It's very simple.
Matthew Camenzuli, we will be right back with you after this short break. We're just going to go to the news headlines and we'll be back to talk to Matt about what can we do to reform the Liberal Party. This is the Vikki Campion Show on TNT. We're back now with Matthew Camenzuli, who, Matt, you've got some ideas for how we reform the Liberal Party, and you're emphasising the need for people to remain members or become members and to end factionalism. And of course, the Liberal Party has probably more defined factions, I would say, than the Nationals. The Nationals definitely, they have factions, but their factions are less clear as to what they are. What else do you think needs to happen to encourage Australians to take a direct interest in their political lives?
I think that is precisely right what needs to happen. You've just said the answer. People need to take an interest and get involved. The more people that think, those that think that things are going badly, that think that they could do a better job, it's probably because they can. You know, if it's in you, if it's inherent within you that things could be better, should be better, and you can see how, then get involved yourself. Be a part of it. Come and get involved. So, you know, you want to join political parties, you want to be involved in, community groups, even those sorts of things, talking to people, telling people your story, what frustrates you. Don't be a coward. Don't be afraid. You'd be surprised how many people now that I talk to that see me and say, you know what, I really like the work that you're doing. And they sometimes do it this way. I really like the work that you're doing, because they're afraid to be seen saying it, right? But if you're the person on the line and that just comes out and says what everybody else is thinking, so many people will come up to you and you'll realize very quickly you're not alone. There are more of us. There are many, many more of us. So the solution is to get involved. You must.
Yeah. And the other thing is, though, is that you've worked very hard and you've got your own business. But what about so many people feel like they can't, or they have to almost hide their affiliations? I know I've got friends who, were former staffers in the Nats who now work in private companies with the DEI and the ESG and all of that. And they feel like, now that they feel like they have to hide or be shy of their former life and their political interests, to not talk about it almost.
I think people need to be themselves as best they can.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting, I try and depoliticize even our office. I'm a political person, but business is business, and I try and keep that fairly neutral, because everybody's entitled to their own opinions and views, and I think that's fine. That's part of being Australian. It's part of our even Western civilization. Our democracy is that people have the right to their own opinions and views.
Mm.
And I don't know that it's fair to impose views on people in your workplace. If you're stuck next to somebody in a cubicle and they have very different political opinions and they are very annoying, it makes it very difficult for everybody else to get through their job for the day, right? So you don't want to be that guy or that girl, but at the same time, just staying true to self and true to principle and true to purpose is important. But see, nobody at work needs to know that you're a party member if you join the Liberal Party or the Nats or any of these other organisations. You can keep that very much to yourself if you want to be a part of it. I mean, if you go and run for council, they'll figure it out, right? But if you're just going to be a private member, generally, you know, you can keep that to yourself. And in your private time, out in your social circles, I mean, most people socialise with people that are like-minded, but you know, speak the truth. Be honest. There's no reason to hide who you are from the world, especially when you start to realize there are so many more of us. You know, look at The Voice. It's a classic example. We were being told by the establishment media and by the establishment players and all of the major corporations and the woke, you know, machine, the wokerati, as it were, running around telling everybody that, you know, you're all these names and you're all these things, and if you don't vote for it, you're a bad person and you're gonna have a big, you know, a big problem, and you know no one's going to like you, and you're going to be ostracized. Okay, and what happened? 60% of Australians, in the majority of seats, overwhelming majority of seats, federal seats, in all of the states, all of them voted no. So not only are you not on your own, you're in the super majority.
Yeah.
Don't believe different. Don't let people convince you into believing that because, you know, some people on TV have said that you're a bad person, that you actually are a bad person. No. Good people believe that all people are equal and should have an equal opportunity. It's impossible to get equality of outcome by force without doing harm to somebody. Merit, competence, capability, hard work, all of those things should stand for something, right? Should stand for something. Must, because it's the only way you're going to sift out the very best and brightest. When you start doing things like, and I think it's Senator Payan even said, she felt like she was just in the Labor Party to represent a particular group of people, but not to have opinions.
Yeah, her opinion couldn't be heard. She was part of the DEI, but then she couldn't have her own opinions as a DEI.
Isn't that funny? So we want a diversity of outfits. We want a diversity of religions. We want a diversity of genders. We want a diversity of hairstyles, and we want a diversity of other unimportant attributes, really, that are immutable in most cases, and you know have absolutely nothing to do with your capability set. But we don't want to hear what you have to say. So it's perverse. It's ridiculous. I want a diversity of views and opinions so as we can have debate and find the best path. Just putting, you know, we've got a chocolate cake and a raspberry cake and a strawberry shortcake, and you know, that's great. We've got a variety. It's not a buffet. We've got a variety of flavors. It should be about getting to the very best outcomes. And how do you do that? With the very best people. And how do you do that? With people being challenged and winning under challenge. It's that simple. It's that simple. We've got a bunch of dunces in there right now.
We have so many dunces. And I really urge people, you know, listen to Parliament, actually like put it on, you can stream it, but get an idea about what they're talking about, because honestly, you'd be shocked. What do you think is the worst piece of legislation that we're dealing with right now?
Oh, look, I think there are so many bad things that have been, you know, looked at.
Digital ID.
Yeah. Digital ID is a bad one, but I think digital ID is bad. But I think the worst of all are these impediments on speech.
Yeah.
I think free speech. See, there's nothing wrong with Australia that can't be fixed with a bit of free speech. The problem is once you lose speech, and I think it was it General George Washington? I think it was George Washington who said, you know, without freedom of speech, dumb and silent, you should be led to the slaughter. At the end of the day, free speech is the fundamental principle. It's the fundamental tenet. I mean, what we're doing right now is we're free speeching, right? We're having a crack. We're having a go at the government.
Thanks, TNT.
I don't like the government. There you go. I don't like the government, right? And there are certain elements, even on our own side of politics or on my side of politics, that are saying, you shouldn't speak against the government. Well, you should speak against the government. Opposition leaders need to speak against the government. It's kind of their job, right? Get up and speak against the bloody government. It's not a good government.
It's the easiest government to attack. Can I tell you, as a columnist, it's like a blessing because it's endless copy. I'm never stuck.
They are hopeless. So yeah, look, I think if you lose free speech, you lose the ability then to speak your way back out of it. I mean, how do you have a situation if democracy is like a shop, right? Let's just put democracy in the terms of retail for a second. Everybody likes a bit of retail. So you've got your shelves and you've got your different products on the shelves. And they've each got their little labels and their stuff inside the labels. Great, right? So what democracy is you walking into the shop and looking at the shelf and having a look at all those labels and you picking which product it is that you like. Now, if those products can no longer tell you truthfully, honestly, what is good about their product and potentially have a bit of a sledge at the other products to say why they're better than the other products and what you're going to get when you open the can, how can you make an informed choice or decision? How can you get to your favorite flavored whatever baked beans? You can't, right? So it's impossible for us to have a democracy, a proper democracy where the people really are in charge of their nation without the ability to criticize government, to discuss legislation, to discuss policy, and to have clear and open debate without fear or favor. You cannot, and it must be done. Social media is a blessing. It gives us a new way. I mean, even what we're doing here, we're all on the internet. Isn't it fantastic? These mechanisms didn't exist. We can, of course, it's terrifying. It's petrifying for governments that don't want to do a good job. They don't like the idea of scrutiny coming from all over the place, including crazy guy like me on Twitter, just saying what it is as I see it and getting like 800,000 views on, Dr. Ray Gun, like crazy stuff like that happens. Of course they hate it. Why would they like it? It's criticizing, it's scrutiny, and it makes people think. So without language, without free speech, you can't think, and without thought, you can't fix. So it's really important. So for me, and I know it's a long answer, but the fact of the matter is, without free speech, I think you can close the country. Just forget it. There's no way to fix the problems that they've caused.
No.
You've got to have free speech. You've got to have free speech. Crucial.
We absolutely do. You're so right. And everyone needs to get, like you said, get involved, make a submission, write an email, tell them that you're not happy.
Get on Twitter and tweet. It's great fun. Right? Get in the battle for ideas. It's the new arena, Vikki. It's the new arena. It's the place to be. Right?
I need to set mine up. I haven't done them.
You've got to. Everybody should be there. So once upon a time, people used to line up on one side of the wars changed over many, many years. People used to line up with their swords and shields and, spears and different things. And then move to, people lining up and having their musket volley turns, with the rules of war and don't shoot at the officers and so on. And then it moved to tanks and bombs. And now it's moved to the battle for ideas on X. And the more of that we have, the less wars and horrible things that happen to people in their daily lives. Because it's discussion that takes the heat out and that gives us the ability to really move forward as a people together. Without discussion, you're stuffed.
Matthew Camenzuli, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Love your work. I'll say it loud and proud.
Thank you.
After the break, we will have Brennan McKee from the Institute of Public Affairs, where we'll be talking about these massive migration figures that the IPA has uncovered. This is the Vikki Campion Show on TNT.